What's up, tubers? I'm not sure if I'm going to post this video or if I'm just going to leave it private, but I want to share with you, or if I do post this, I want to share with you what happened to me, get your input, thoughts, feelings, and to show you how I dealt with this. So here is an invoice from my plumber. Today is the 14th of February. Happy Valentine's Day. Back on the 20th of November, that's right, 3 months ago, I had my plumber out here, who I've had out here before, who is the one who plumbed this house when it was new 15, 16 years ago. I had a problem with my radiant heat zone in the big room. The lines were clogged, I wasn't getting heat in there, wasn't level, yada, yada, yada. So he came out here on the 20th, very detailed invoice, and he was supposed to get me a price to fill the system with glycol, which is supposed to clean out the crap in the lines and lubricate it, and I don't know. He said he was going to call me back with a price quote. Okay, this was the 20th, so this was a couple days before Thanksgiving. 2 hours after he left my house, I was on the road going down to Kanab to go hike the wave. And he said he was going to call me with a quote. I didn't hear from him for 2 months. 2 months, no phone call. Furthermore, when he left on the 20th, I said, hey, give me an invoice, let me square up with you now. He goes, oh, we'll do that later when I come back. 2 months later, he doesn't call me. He sends me an invoice for the day with a price at the very bottom, price to fill the system with glycol, $1,600. I don't know what that means. I don't know how long that takes. To me, it sounds like a little bit of a high price. Because I don't have that big of a problem that can't be fixed for a couple $100 every year. Anyways, he clearly overcharged me. Now, he charged me a trip charge of $60. I'm okay with that. For your information, I was an electrical contractor. I owned my own business for 30 years in Houston. And not at the beginning, but at the end when traffic in Houston got so hectic, I didn't charge a trip charge because $60 is more than half of my hourly rate. What I did was I charged my time driving from the job I was at before you to you. I charged you one way. So if I was 10 minutes away, I charge you for 10 minutes. If I was 30 minutes away, I charge you for 30 minutes. Most of my customers were within 20 minutes of me. So a trip charge is fair. He charged me for 3.5 hours. He was clearly only here for 2 hours. I knew it. That's my job. That's my business, is to watch people's time and to watch my time. So 2 hours to 3.5, that's a pretty, flagrant, blatant, what's the adjective I'm looking for? Ripped off. Stole from me. That's the same thing as letting a stranger into your house and him going into your drawer and taking cash out of your drawer. That's theft to me. Except he was billing me for the theft. So I have a security system. And you can see that right here. Hello. And it records everything. And I went into the playback. And I went to November 20th. Okay, I'm not sure how well this is going to show up. But here's my playback. And we're going to come over here. As you can see right down here, 9 a.m. right there, no activity on any of the cameras. So we hit play and we go straight to 9:23. Here he is walking up to my house. There he is walking up to my front door. So there's no, see, and he's ringing the doorbell. If this was his second or third or fourth trip in and I was lying and I deleted tapes, he would not be ringing the doorbell at 9:23, 9:24, shake hands. Okay, now we go to 11:20. And we are at 11:20 and 22 seconds. He is leaving, and you see me closing the door behind him. I was letting him out. He left at 11:20. Here he is getting into his van, walking around to get into his van, and we're not touching any of the things. It's going to take him a minute. And this is where you see him right here at 11:21 driving away. Proof is in the evidence. Okay, so here is how I dealt with the situation. I am paying him. I've got a check for him for $250. I have written him a small short letter saying, Bill Johnson, I corrected your invoice to better reflect the time you were here, 2 hours. Enclosed are 2 screenshots from my security showing you arriving at my door at 9:23 and in your van leaving at 11:21. I hope overcharging me wasn't intentional. I know better than this. This was intentional. So I've got a screenshot here showing 9:23 a.m. him coming up to my house. 11:21, he's in his van and driving away. If he'd have been 1 minute over 2 hours, I would have paid him for 2.25 hours, quarter hour. And I adjusted his invoice here. I changed the $332.50 charge for 3.5 hours to $190. I'm paying him his trip charge, $250. And I've got this all ready to go. Now I received the invoice from him on the 19th, which is 1 day short of exactly 2 months from when he was here. I will mail him the payment on the 19th in 5 days. So, what do I think about this? Being an electrical contractor, I'm totally aware of what he was doing. I called him out. He thought he was going to have a quick service call for an hour. He charged me for an hour plus drive time, and he'd move on. And I had a little bit longer list of things. Took him 2 hours, which makes it more worth his time for the 30-minute drive from Salt Lake if he doesn't have, what's up, tubers, something else going on in Park City. Look, if you're a contractor and you need to make $150 an hour, charge $150 an hour. If you need to charge for drive time both ways, spell it out in advance. Let your customer know what they're getting into so there's no surprises so they don't get upset. Am I upset? Nah, I don't care. I'm paying him for what he did. I'm being fair with him, even though he did intentionally try to rip me off. I don't expect to hear back from him. I would expect him to cash the check and go, oh well, I tried to rip him off. Screw that Park City guy. And I won't hear from him. He won't hear from me anymore. Let me know what you think. If this had happened to you, what would you have done? How would you have addressed this? Do you think I dealt with this practically, honestly, fairly? The only other thing I can think is that I could have done would have been to call him up and confront him over the phone. Can't do it to his face. For the overcharging and work it out that way. But there's no reason to. All the evidence is on my side. I've got proof here. And yeah, Plumber tried to rip me off for an extra hour and a half. Now, waiting 2 months to do it, I can only assume that, because I never did this myself, I charged customers when I left them, expecting not to see them ever again. Just in case. Even though most of my customers are repeat customers, I know stuff happens. I think he was intentionally, when he left here, without giving me an invoice at the end of the 2 hours, he was thinking he was intentionally going to stick some extra time on there, thinking I would forget about it in 2 months, not be able to recall it as well in 2 months. But that's not me. That's not how I operate. I'm very aware of my surroundings and what goes on around me and in my house and time all the time. So, that's what I did. If you've got any comments, any thoughts, if you think I did the right thing, give me a thumbs up. If you think I did the wrong thing, give me a thumbs down. Or even better, leave a comment. Let's create a dialogue amongst ourselves about how to deal with these situations when they do arise. Thanks for letting me share this with you. And please subscribe. I got good content coming out most of the time. All right, I'll see you later.